Hi, friends. This is your moderator, Yetmir from Albania. I'm happy to introduce today Manos from Greece. Manos is a true friend to our initiative. His consistent help comes not only from his wonderful pictures he posts often in our group, but also from his very constructive feedback and overall support he has been giving since we opened Wild Europe in June. Moving forward, to see the previous interviews, please visit our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified for weekly interviews and other related videos. Let's start by asking Manos. So how did this all started for you? Who inspired you, and how have you been learning photography so far?
First of all, thank you, Yetmir, for having me. I feel honored because I'm quite new in all this. So to be part of the group and the gang and part of the interview initiative that you're taking, it's a true honor. So thank you for having me, and thank you for all your effort in the group. Great job. So it's a quite funny story how this all started. Once we had our first child, my wife told me that she realized that all the pictures that we have from our babies through the cell phone, and nothing was printable. So she tried to print, and everything was really rubbish. So she said to me, she said, "You know what, Manos? I think we need to buy a DSLR." And I got into it, and we bought this DSLR. So I remember I opened the box, I take the manual, and it's like a personal computer. You need the PhD to work these things out. So I realized that I need to start to go into self-learning, start reading books, watching YouTube videos, gaining knowledge. And I remember joining this first it's a book and it's a group. I don't want to mention it because it's going to be advertising, but I got into this group, and I remember the author was showing us different pictures, and he was explaining that every photographer has his own niche. Every single person is good in one field. So he was showing us portraits, portraiture, and landscape photography, and this and that. And at the end, right at the end, he showed us this picture of this American bald eagle diving inside the water and catching a fish. And I remember myself saying, wow, the first time I saw something like that. And I remember thinking, will I ever be able to capture a shot like that? Who are these people that they can take this amazing wildlife shot? So to cut the long story short, that's how it all started. So I started photography to photograph my kids, and I now have thousands of photographs of birds and still just a couple of my kids. So, and the rest of my family. So I loved it, and I'm stuck with that ever since.
Thank you for sharing, Manos. What are the benefits for a wildlife photographer? What is this offering you, Manos?
Well, to start with, for me, it was the fact that I could combine business with pleasure, really, because I travel quite a lot. So I travel around the world with my job, and it was very lonely in the evenings and in the weekends when I had to stay over. So it really helped me to sort of like combine the two. So for me, it was an extra activity after finishing work. But just being in nature, the sense of exploring, keeping the balance between a fast-paced lifestyle and your inner self, the balance that it gives you when you're out there and taking these shots is unique. And I think that what happens in our souls as wildlife photographers is that when you're out there hiding and shooting, you don't have to think, you don't have to judge, you don't have to take any decisions. You just take life for what it really is. You just watch and shoot. And I think that this is self-healing. I think psychologists in Northern Europe, they even prescribe birding for the relaxation that it can give you. I think that it also has quite a lot of therapeutical effect to you.
Indeed, indeed. I find so much on what you're saying, actually. I find myself so much on what you're saying. Moving forward, social media groups and society, you are very active, quite active, actually. What is birding offering you in that sense, Manos?
Well, social media is a part of our new lives. It's everywhere. So birding couldn't be out of it, or wildlife photography couldn't stay out of it. So if you're active in social media, if you get to learn more things, you get to share your experiences with other photographers. Look at your group, for example. You know, we get to meet. It's an amazing initiative that connects photographers from all around Europe, and we meet each other. We exchange techniques and skills and learn about gear, etc. And of course, what would art, any form of art, be if there's no audience? So social media provides you the platform where you can demonstrate your work. It's a constant virtual, expo. You just expose your work. People give you feedback, and you interact. And social media is also very important in wildlife photography and how sociable you are, because you get to know information about rare birds in your local community. You get to meet with your local community. If somebody starts today through social media, he can get to know and meet other photographers, meet and socialize, but also have the information about locations, rare bird arrivals. Communities are very active these days, and it's a huge source of information.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And you were one of the first to tap into this, and I appreciate your help and support from the beginning. Which brings us to the next question: self-learning versus organized learning. What do you find to work best for you?
That's the eternal debate, especially with my professional photography friends. I enjoy self-learning, and everybody knows that I enjoy self-learning, but that's also part of me having fun. So for me, I think I'm stuck with that from my university years. I like research, I like to search, I like trial and error. It takes more time. And obviously, if you learn something wrongly, you can learn it badly for life. Nothing can beat an organized workshop, and learning by experienced professional photographers, by all means, will give you better depth and much better knowledge than somebody else did it for you. He has all the knowledge concentrated, he can share it with you. Having said that, everybody needs to explore and be out there in the field and shoot. Photography cannot be taught in lecture rooms or behind screens. And at the end of the day, you need to be out there in the field, constantly challenging your teacher's techniques and your own technique to come to, challenge your own self to become better every time. So being out in the field is the best. But of course, organized learning is more lucrative than self-learning. And of course, people like me that they enjoy self-learning, there's plenty of information out there. I think a combination of everything, really.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. From another view, self-exploring versus organized group, where do you stand, Manos?
It's the same, like self-learning versus organized learning. Self-exploring gives you the joy of exploration. You're out there, you're in a mission, you're looking for a particular bird to complete your list, or you're out in your local pond in the weekend and looking for things. But what about when somebody is traveling abroad? I mean, I'm in New York for a conference for 4 days, and then I'm heading upstate New York, and I have these 2 days to explore a huge area. I mean, Yetmir, the area much better than I do. If you don't have help, if you're not part of an organized group, you will never spot anything. Best case scenario, you'll go to Central Park and take a red cardinal, and that's it. So especially when you're traveling, when you're not from a destination, you definitely need to go in organized groups. You need to appreciate the assistant that can come from a local guide, from an expert. And it's the same with organized workshops as well. You know, it's the long way versus the short way. I always take a guide when I'm traveling. And of course, as we said back in the social media question, if you're very well connected, then maybe you can have local people in different places around the world that can help you. But again, you know, going with a guide is always more preferred. And we need to support. It's a profession. These people have spent a lot of money to train themselves, to build their businesses, and they definitely know better than we do when we go to a new place.
And I'll tell you the truth, Europe versus US, guides are more present, I find, in Europe than they are in US for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just, you know, you can find more folks here who are there and ready to help you. And but hey, I absolutely agree. Moving forward, what gear are you using and what are your presets on the field, Manos?
I'm as I said, you know, I don't have like a huge experience in the gear. You know, I've started just 3 years ago and moving. So my current gear is a D500, a crop sensor body, which has quite fast, very fast autofocus capability from the Nikon world, and I combine it with a Sigma 500 f4. I used to have a zoom 150 to 600, the contemporary, but I reached that point that I felt that I need something more. So I was between the PF, the 500, the new 500 PF versus an f4. So it was, you know, do I want something lightweight but the stop slower? Do I want the monster but a stop lighter? I think that, you know, up to that level, you can't go wrong. Anything that you buy, it's, you know, equally sharp, equally fast, but then you got the depth of field of an f4 versus the versatility of a zoom versus versatility of a lightweight lens. And then you need to take your decisions based on what type of photography are you doing. So if you want something fast and on the go and versatile, the PF or a very good zoom is an amazing choice. If you want to try and go into, you know, closer to the subject, get better detail, blurred backgrounds, etc., an f4 will always be an f4, you know, or an even faster glass like the 300 and 400 2.8, which is, you know, super fast, which is, you know.
Thank you so much. So far, it's been very rich. I have a last question here. We had a couple of debates in the group regarding wildlife ethics, in particular on hides and baits. What is your opinion and how can the image we see influence a new photographer?
Of course. I mean, wildlife photography ethics, I think, should be the first lesson, you know, the first thing that somebody needs to learn. When we're new, we see so many amazing pictures that they are the result of sometimes bad ethics. That could include live baiting, abusing animals, approaching nests more than we should approach, having as a result for the parents to leave the nest and then a predator coming to eat the babies, using calls during migration. So, you know, this is an eternal debate. You know, can I bend my rules? And if I can bend my rules, how far can I bend them? Well, for me, you know, I consider myself a photographer, not a birder. So my perspective is photography. My main perspective is photography and not necessarily, you know, birding itself. Having said that, photography is helping pass the message on conservation and the importance of protecting the ecosystem. So how can a wildlife photographer pass this message and then break the rules to the extent that it becomes unethical or dangerous for the animal? So I believe that we need to be quite strict with ourselves and ethical. But I think that wildlife photography ethics is an interview or a subject for discussion of its own. I think it's quite good whenever this comes on the group and we hear input from different photographers. It's important. Having said that, I don't find anything bad with some of those practices when limited. Hides have assisted in conservation. If you take the hides in the Pyrenees, for example, they're part of the food chain of the bearded vulture. But of course, there are hides like bear hides that tame the bears, and then they become a threat to their own life. So it's a certain balance that wildlife photographers, we can approach to a certain way without abusing. I think there's a certain balance in everything, and people need to be very educated in order to bend the rules.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, as one of our folks said on the group, we need to use common sense type of practices, even with the hides. And so I appreciate your help and for you being part of this experience. As I said, you've been a true friend to us from the beginning. Thank you so much. And we look forward to the future.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and keep up with the good work.
Thank you.